Hi, everybody. It is that time of the quarter. I almost said that time of the month, and boy, wouldn't that be fun. Um, so we have book club tonight, and I am going to be joined by Aire from The Obsessed. So let me go ahead and get her on. Let's see here. I keep accepting your request, but let me see if I can invite you to Aire. There we go. Yay, it worked.
It worked. Hey, how are
Hi,
you?
how are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Nice to see
I
you.
always have problems. Yeah, you too. It's always hard trying to get people on because sometimes like if I accept their request to join, it doesn't always work. And sometimes like my first thing, I don't know, we get there in the end. That's all that
We got there.
matters.
We got
We got
connected. I'm
there.
so glad
No, yeah, I was just saying, yeah, we got
we
there.
got
So,
there.
welcome everybody and welcome Aire. We are here tonight to discuss Just Another Missing Person. Now, Aire, I know you have a physical copy of the book. I listened to it on audio. Yeah, there it is. Yay. So, before we get into too much of the book, um, obviously we like to do a little meet the maker portion first. So I have my questions and fun stuff. So how are you tonight, though? Everything going all right? Did you get your son down to bed? Oh, I think we're lagging here. Let's see. I think we lost her. Hang on one second. There we go.
Sorry, I got dropped off, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it was weird because it didn't even like your picture didn't disappear. I just noticed like you were frozen. So I'm like, that was weird. I don't know what
It
happened.
just cut me right off and said, "See ya."
Rude.
So rude. Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. Well, welcome, Air. I'm so happy that you could join me for tonight.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
of course, you're always like on the other commenting. I know that you're always coming to the book club stuff, and it's always fun to actually get to talk face to face too. So I appreciate you being here. So while you're here, why don't you take an opportunity to just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you do, and all that fun stuff.
Sounds good. Okay, so hi guys. My name is Aire, but short form is Aire. Everybody calls me Aire, and I'm based in good old freezing Toronto. Um, I'm in Canada, eh? And we always have to make that joke, right?
Always.
Uh, and I actually was a beauty blogger before, and I, got a little bit, not necessarily tired, but mom life kind of changed things a lot for me. And I started taking a bit of a pause on that, and then I noticed that I was really getting back into crafting and knitting and crocheting, and so that's how I ended up here.
That's awesome. So how did you learn to knit and crochet?
Like a lot of people, I learned when I was really young. My mom taught me. I must have been probably my son's age, 6, 5, 6. I learned really,
Wow, that's young.
yeah. And back then they used to still teach it in school. So yeah, I just kind of would pick it up every winter, make a couple of gifts or make a couple of hats, scarves, and then I would park it. In the summer, I used to pull out my crochet.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a seasonal thing for me. And then, yeah, and then I would park it. But then I think in the past, I would say 5 years, I haven't stopped.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you taught your son? I mean, you said you learned when you were about his age, so have you started to teach him at all
So
yet?
I've
Or no?
I've
Does he have any
done the
interest?
the hand crochet where you kind of
Yeah,
just
yeah.
make loops and you make the chain. We've done that together. And every now and then he'll show a little bit of an interest, but he's not that interested.
Yeah.
He's too busy with Lego and all the other cool stuff.
Same. I know. I've got two boys also, and I swear, like my oldest showed some interest at one point, and then I think I taught him how to chain, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm done."
Yeah. Yeah. How old is he?
He's 12 now. I think that he was about like 9 when that happened.
And now he's
But
like, I'm over it.
yeah, he's so over it. He was over
That's
it
so
within about
cute.
20 minutes, but it's all good. Maybe on the second one, maybe we'll get there, but
Try
I don't know.
again a little bit later. I'll try again.
But they are really good about like asking me to make stuff for them. Like, I made a little Among Us characters. Do you know what Among Us is?
Yes, my son taught me.
Yeah, boy, mom. But I made some little crochet Among Us characters
That
last
is
year
so
or the year
cute.
before for Christmas for my boys and for my nephew.
That
And so
is
they
so
thought
cute.
that was really cool. And yeah, they're always asking me like to make them this or that. So
That
it's fun.
is sweet. I love that.
Yeah.
That
So
is
do you get to do stuff like this? Does your son ask you for that kind of stuff yet or no?
he asked for a snail a few years ago, but funny enough, don't tell him I didn't finish it. I kind of was almost done and started stuffing it, and I actually, I should pull it out and finish it. It was very small, one of those what are they called? Amigurumi.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I should finish
Yeah.
it.
The surprise. Put it in his Christmas
Couple
stocking.
years later.
That's so funny. So, so now you said that you kind of like it was after the beauty blogging thing, you got a little tired or burnt out on that, and then mom life kind of took over. What made you kind of decide to start designing and sharing your patterns?
So funny enough, I got a couple of people into knitting and crocheting over the past few years, and my cousin and I would make things often and together. And then during conversation, it was kind of like, why don't you start kind of putting out these patterns? And I always wanted to, but I think I was, that whole imposter syndrome, and I felt like, well, there's already millions of people doing this. Why would I? And then
Right.
I thought, why not? What's the worst that can happen? It's a lot of work,
Right.
but why not do it? So I have one free pattern, as I'm sure you know, free patterns do well. I had, Layla
Hi,
saying hi.
Layla.
I had a twist headband pattern that's gone viral, and every year around this time, it
Comes up
starts,
again.
so you see it on Pinterest going crazy, and then the Pinterest leads to the blog hits. But yeah, I just kind of decided to put some patterns out, and I think I need to do it a little more regularly. Sometimes I work with knit picks. I've recently started working with hobby, so you'll see my patterns there once in a while.
Awesome. That's
How
so
about you?
great.
Do you put your patterns out with friends or
I
mostly on your blog?
I put it mostly out on my blog. I have like I have it on my blog and then I sell like PDF versions of everything, but like the stuff that's on my blog is usually either a smaller pattern or it's a limited portion of the full PDF pattern, if that makes sense.
Like
Like
one
the last,
size?
right, exactly. So I've got like an ear warmer and a hat that just came
Yeah,
out. And I did like one single size for free on the blog. And then, kind of that's like the launch pad for the other
that's
stuff. So,
genius,
well,
actually.
I don't know about
It's a
that,
good
but
idea. I like it.
it works. So it's not doing too bad. So, um, but yeah, so, you know, okay, here's a fun little question before we get into more fun other detaily stuff. Um, just out of curiosity. So when you're looking at yarn, do you do the yarn and have like a project already in mind for it? Like you're going shopping for your project and that's how you get your yarn? Is it project first? Or do you get the yarn and you're like, I'm gonna make this into, you have to like feel it, maybe touch it, let it talk to you, and be like, this is what you're gonna be. So which comes first?
You know what? I actually had it here and I moved it now. I should go grab it. I just moved it over there. So I'm like a squirrel at the yarn shop. Okay. You cannot let me loose. Um, in Toronto, we have this cute, adorable shop that I think it's been open for 5 years now. It's called the Knitting Loft, and it's a beautiful shop. It's not like the old school shops. It's like a modern, colorful. They have coffee,
Ooh,
beautiful. Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. So, every now and then I treat myself and I go there for a, Zen calm down
yeah,
session. I'm like a
obviously.
squirrel. I can't, yeah, obviously. I walk in there and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna buy, you know, a couple of yarns to make a hat for my son or something.
Right.
Do not let me loose in the store with a card. Like it's, and then I buy yarn and I come home and I'm like, okay, what can I make with these 2 skeins? What can I make with these 3 skeins? So no, I'm the worst. Don't ask me that question. Or
So
I
yarn
go in
first.
for a project and I come out with 3 bags.
Right.
Please tell me you do
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Especially like if I'm going to you know, like conventions or like indie yarn
Right.
like stores, you know, where it's like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna use you for, but you are going home with
You're
me.
coming home. You're coming home with
Right.
me.
Yeah.
I have to show you this one. Hold on.
Okay.
I have to grab it. It was so beautiful. I could not leave it. I mean,
Oh, I love the speckle.
look at this
It's
beautiful,
really subtle. It almost looks like a watercolor effect, doesn't it?
right?
Yeah, that's really pretty.
I couldn't.
Oh,
So I'm
what are
going
you
back to
turning
get
that
more.
into?
This is the Sophie scarf.
Okay.
Finished. I just have to, there's a
We
couple
use
of
it the
ends.
darn ends.
Darn it. Okay, there's only a couple on this one.
Oh,
Stunning.
that's awesome. Okay. So aside from yarn, do you have any other creative outlets?
I love to paint. I'm not great. Like
Really?
my husband and my son are amazing. Like I have to say my son is very talented. He took after his dad. But skills aside, I still like to think I've got something. So I
Yeah.
love painting, like abstract, nothing, you know, like I can't paint people or anything, but I just love making things with my hands. I used to make jewelry. So every now and then I'll make bracelets or earrings, but
Do you ever
not as much
do
anymore.
like the little stitch markers? Should make stitch
I,
markers.
you know, I thought about that. It's the same thing as making earrings, and I've never made them. Steph sent me the most gorgeous handmade little set once. Steph from Stephernets,
Uh-huh.
also from Canada. Gorgeous. And I was like, you know, this is such a good idea.
Yeah.
I've never
There's
made
so
them.
many pretty ones and like so many options and all the beads in the world.
And
It's just like,
gemstones.
yeah, you should do it.
Another. There's so many people making beautiful ones, you know?
But just like pattern designing, I mean, you still have something to bring to the table.
It's
Just,
true. It's true.
just
If only we had all the time, right?
right. You know, I know. It's like I feel like, especially as my kids are getting older and they're just so much busier, I don't have a life anymore. Like
I know.
it's
I know,
not
like you give up the baby
existent.
stuff, but then activities.
Activities and
I
lots
hear
of
you.
them.
I
Yeah.
hear you, Mama.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so tell me something random about yourself.
I can speak German.
Really? Say something.
Wie geht's? How are you? How are you?
Okay.
But I'm not as fluent as I once was. I grew up there. Um,
Really? I did not know that.
yes, yes, I grew up in Munich. There's still a lot up here, but I'm just slower now.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Yeah, but that's a random fact.
You're not like around it, so it's you kind of
Yeah,
need
I'm not. I
to
really know.
practice it.
Yeah, it declines if you don't use it.
Yeah.
Um, it starts to go away. Yeah, I need to pick it up again.
So where have you lived anywhere else besides Germany and Canada?
No, I was born in Iran and then I lived in Germany and then the rest of my time was here. In the Middle East, I lived in a couple of places, but I was way too young,
Gotcha.
so I wouldn't remember.
Interesting. Very cool though. I like that you can speak German.
Thanks.
That's really neat. Okay,
Thanks.
so now let's talk books.
Yeah.
Not our book just yet, but books in general. So, what are your favorite genres to read, and what do you typically look for in a good book?
So I think I go back and forth between, you know, a good learning type of book or a book that can teach me something. So a couple of books that I've been reading. One of them is Braiding Sweetgrass, which I know has been doing really well. It has an Indigenous author and just a lot of learnings about how to live with nature, but she
Okay.
tells it in a story form. I'm also reading about medicinal herbs. That's another one. And then in terms of novels, I'm really into thrillers, like, you know,
Yeah.
whodunit thrillers, not gory. I'm not into
Right.
anything, you know, I don't like horror. I can't handle
I
it.
can't either. Okay, so let me just tell you a little story because that's going to make you laugh. So have you heard of the book How to Sell a Haunted House?
I've heard of it. I don't know it.
Okay. So I have like my local sip and stitch group here. We are all book fanatics too, and so we're always like, making book recommendations. We have a group chat going all the time. And my friend Chelsea, without like even talking about what genre we were discussing, she was just like, "Hey, I just finished How to Sell a Haunted House. It was amazing." And I'm like, "Oh, it's
Great.
October. It's a spooky season. I can do this." So I found like the audio was available at my through Libby app, for the
Yeah.
library. And I thought, oh, well, I had to go out to my mom's, which she lives 5 hours away. I'm like,
Perfect.
perfect. Right. So I start listening to it in the car, and I'm like, what am I listening to right now? Like, I got so freaked out by it. And I only made it like, I don't even know if I made it 20% in. Like, it was bad. I'm like, I'm done. Like,
That
I told him, I was like, you gotta warn a girl next time that that's horror because it
was
had
it
like,
gory?
no, honestly, okay, it might have been. I didn't get far enough to find out. It was like, it was, and I don't think I'm giving anything away here if anybody wants to read this because, like I said, I did not get far. But like, there's the woman in the story is heading back to her parents' house. They had just both died, and I think it was like a car accident or something. Don't quote me on that. But she's heading back to her childhood home, and she's going through like gonna go sort through everything, right, and work up their estate and get everything organized and all that kind of stuff. So she finds that the house is locked, doesn't have a key, and ends up going back around the back side of the house, and it's unlocked back there. Like, okay. So she goes inside and hears the TV going. And so she goes into the family room where the TV's running, and her mom had collected these dolls, and they were sitting there propped up like they were watching the TV. So she's thinking, okay, somebody just left it going, and turns it off and then goes about her business. And then it turns back on. And creepy, even more creepy is the fact that the two dolls, I think, were named after her and her brother. Yeah, the creepy doll thing lost me. I'm like,
It's
nope,
like Chucky.
done.
It's like Chucky. I
Yeah,
can't.
I no.
And
I'm sure that it's a good book if you like horror, but if you don't, avoid that one.
see, I kind of, because the two genres kind of overlap occasionally,
Yeah,
and I get it. I mean, I understand.
right.
But like I like more of the mysterious, find out what happened, solve a crime without the gory, you know.
Yeah, you like the more like procedural almost,
Yeah,
or
I don't like the
yeah,
terror. Like I can't, I
yeah.
like the thrillers. I can't handle the terror. Like Dateline like stuff, you know? Who done it?
Right, right.
So I always try to really read the description to see if it's, because that's happened to me where I've started listening to a book, you know, or you know what else I can't do? Abduction of children. So
Oh, yeah.
I will say that before I became a mom, I read, I think it's Gone, Baby Gone, and I love Dennis Lehane. He's one of my favorite
I
authors.
know that book, but I don't think I've read it.
Have you seen the movie with Ben Affleck's brother, Casey Affleck?
Maybe.
It was a very good movie, great book. I could probably read that one again, and then it had a follow up. But there was another book, I can't remember now what it was called, and I bought it. I went to the bookstore, I bought it one day. As soon as I turned the couple of pages and it said, the parents were at a party next door and the child is not in the crib, I gave it to a friend. I put it away. I couldn't do it.
Mm,
So I will not read child abductions. I can't do it.
yeah, yeah. Um, have you read any of like the Karen Slaughter books?
No.
I just finished one of hers, her re most recent one called After That Night, which that had a lot of triggers for me in it, and it was definitely a very hard read, but it was still a really good book. I liked it, but yeah, it's not gory. Like
Okay.
it could be
Upsetting?
a lot of like that, yeah, it could be upsetting, and most of the stuff took place off page, and it just kind of refers to it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like the big gory stuff either. But occasionally, like I'll end up in a horror novel by virtue of it being a crossover type book. Like I do like a lot of fantasy
Mm-hmm.
books,
Mm-hmm.
and there was this one, oh, The Taker is what it was called, and it was a whole trilogy, I think. And I thought it would be classified fantasy, but it got categorized as horror, and I'm like,
Do I give
maybe.
up? Do I
No,
continue?
I loved the series. It was
Oh, you did?
fantastic.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I don't know how I don't know that I would have qualified it as horror, but I think that her other books tend to be horror.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it was just like almost auto
She might
categorized
almost
that.
write that way,
Maybe.
right?
But I don't know. I liked it. So I don't think it was that bad. But yeah, How to Sell a Haunted House was no bueno for me. Like not having that. But okay, so who are your auto buy authors? Like who are the authors that you will buy anything they put out?
You know, I think I stopped doing that. I used to do that a lot. Like when Ruth Ware first came out, I automatically bought, I think, I don't know, her first 3, 4 books. And then it was
Hmm.
kind of like, oh, I mean, they're okay.
They get
Uh,
formulaic.
Not to knock, I mean, she's doing great. But I just kind of became a little bit bored. Yeah, a little bit formulaic. So I kind of don't do that anymore. Same with Dennis Lehane. I went and sought out, um, he had, I can't remember how many books, and I have them all. He had these two main characters that they were the detectives that solved the crime in Gone Baby Gone. And so I went out, sought out all the books with these two main characters, and I love them. They were very, very good. But now I think I just, especially with Libby app and audiobooks,
Hmm.
which I didn't start doing until a few years ago, I feel like I'm more open to authors. I've done a couple of Lisa Jewell's recently.
Yeah, I have not read anything of hers, but I do think I have something of hers in my TBR pile
She's
upstairs.
not bad. I liked, I think it was called The Family Upstairs and The Family Remains.
Okay.
One is a continuation of the other. Not bad. I mean, it was interesting enough. I still do like Ruth Ware. I like Gillian McAllister's last one, The Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Love
I was
that
gonna
one.
ask if you had read that. So that I hadn't read that. I haven't read it yet, but my mom just let me borrow it, so I haven't started it yet, but it's in my
Read it.
pile up there too.
Read it. I would love to know what you think, especially
And I
because
also,
now we.
right, I was gonna ask because that was one of my questions for a little later, but just trying to figure out like how you would compare this book to that one, but we'll
We'll
get to
get
that in a second. But
to that.
yeah, have you read anything by Alice Feeney?
Name a. I know
The
her, but I don't know if I've read
Paris
it.
Apartment. She wrote The Paris Apartment. Wasn't that Alice Feeney? And then uh, Good Bad Girl is her most recent.
No.
Uh, Daisy Darker.
Oh, I know that book. No, I have not. I would like to read it. Did you
Okay,
read it?
yeah, I have. I did really like it. I will say that like I figured out the twist pretty early on that one,
Oh,
but
darn.
but I will say that almost everybody else I've talked to never saw it coming. So maybe
Hmm,
maybe it was because they said that I was like extra vigilant for
maybe.
it. So maybe I'm like,
You wrecked it for yourself.
I know I did. But it was still a really good book because even if you do figure that out, it's interesting seeing how you get to
To
get
there.
to the end. Yeah, it's still really interesting, I
I think
think.
I have to add that one.
Yeah, and then I used to do auto buy authors, but I'm a lot like you now. Like I just kind of I think you're right. What you said about the Libby app and other stuff, just opening up to other authors and possibilities and things. And I guess I've gotten to be really like I'll go a lot deeper on reviews for books so that I can see, especially if I find people to follow on Goodreads that I know kind of have similar opinions on other books as me, then I can
Yeah.
be like, okay, well, if they liked it, then I'll probably like
Yeah.
it, kind of a thing.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, I used to like auto buy anything that Nora Roberts would write, and then probably like 5 or 10 years ago, I stopped because I felt like all of her stuff was getting to be so formulaic anymore, and I was just bored with it. So, and then Leanne Moriarty, if you like thrillers and things like that, she's really good. I haven't I don't think there's a book of hers that I've read that I haven't liked.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so if you like thrillers, she's another good one. Um, so before we get into the book discussion, I saw on your feed that you have a mud giveaway coming up.
Yes, I
So
do.
can you give us the details on that? Because we all love mud.
Yes, I know we love mud. I don't have my bag here to show you, but yes, I have a mud giveaway coming up. There's going to be 2 winners, not just one. 2 such cute, amazing bags. I have a little teaser up on my Instagram if you want to see my last post. But I think I'm going to post it in the next couple of days. It's kind of a birthday giveaway.
Awesome.
And
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, happy belated birthday. I know your birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so sweet. Thank you. It's
Well,
a
that's
great
exciting. So two winners on that. That's going to be so great.
2 bags. And most of Mud's line comes in black as well as their whiskey color, which I love because it kind of just wears well with age. It has that, cowboyish kind of look. I love their whiskey color.
I love the whiskey color too. I think that's my favorite. I don't know what it is about like that tan kind of color, but yeah, I love it.
So beautifully. I have their small Saturn bag, and it's just aged so nicely.
So these are all mostly like project bags and needle cases and things like that.
But they're also purses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Who doesn't just throw everything all in the one bag? I mean, you got your yarn, all your stuff is all in there.
Use one of my current purse, my current bag. It's not a purse; it's bigger. Is their Hiba bag, the mud Hiba bag. It's perfect for us moms because I can throw my water bottle in it. Layla loves the whiskey color too.
Yeah. Yep.
I can put my son's water bottle, some snacks. I'll throw my whip in it if I'm going to watch him, do a sport or something. Yeah, they're awesome bags. So make sure you guys come and enter.
Yeah, we definitely will. Yay. Okay, so before we get into the book discussion, I have one last little thing that I want to do with you that's just for funsies.
Okay.
So I'm sure that I'm sorry, I'm like losing my voice. For some reason, I started like coughing all of a sudden this afternoon. I'm like, no,
not today. Can I pass you some tea?
That would be awesome here. I've been that's why I've been going hard at the water tonight. So
I hope it goes away.
Yeah, sorry if I'm like, oh man, see, like right there. Hang on. Okay. So I'm sure you're familiar with this or that. You're familiar with that kind of like Instagram game, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to play a little bit of this or that. I've only got a few of them, but I just want you to without thinking about it too long, just real snappy.
Okay.
Ready?
That's fun.
All right. Knit or crochet?
Knit.
Okay. Audiobook or physical book?
Physical.
Okay. Solid or color work? Single color or color work?
Oh, that's so, I can't answer that one. Okay.
Oh, you have
solid. That's such a mood dependent question.
For me,
I can't hear you. I'm losing you.
No, that was my phone my battery was dying. I forgot to plug myself in.
Oh,
so
plug it in.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, for me, it's if it's color work, that means a lot of ends. So I have to be in the right headspace for that.
Yes. And attention. Okay. You have to pay attention.
Right. Yeah. Right? How many counting? Yeah. Okay. Read on the beach or read by the lake?
Always the beach.
Really? You strike me as a beach person, though. I mean, if I lived in Canada, I would probably want the beach too.
You see? You understand our pain. Beach. Hands down.
Okay, when you're crocheting, pencil grip or knife grip?
This one, what is that? Knife, yeah.
This one. Do you prefer the book or the movie, typically?
The book.
Yeah. And last one, do you prefer to work in rows or in the round?
Round, always in the round.
Really? I like rows because then I don't have to worry about counting.
No, really?
I do. I'm terrible.
Oh.
The only time I will do round is like if it's something I don't want to seam for, but if I can get
Always
away with
in the
working a
round.
rectangle. Look at you with your double pointed needles.
I am obsessed. No, circular.
Okay.
I love working in the round.
Well,
Seams.
That's true. Less seams. Like if I can, I don't know. I think it depends on what it is, but like okay, don't hate me. I actually kind of like seaming stuff. Like if I'm doing a mattress stitch, there's something like, I don't know. I just love working the needle in the mattress stitch, so I don't mind it.
There's so many people. Another one of my Instagram pals, Lo, is the same way. She loves seaming. I'm like, can I ship you my things?
Now I don't want the ends, so I need
but the seaming you're
somebody
cool
that's
with.
a professional yarn like end weaver. If I can have if somebody has that job posting, I will send you all of the work.
You know, I don't mind seaming the act itself. Like I find it relaxing. But here's my problem. I have this kid running around all the time. It's not quiet. For seaming, for whatever reason, I need to be alone. I need to be in a specific headspace on a table. Whereas I do everything else, like, you know, I'll watch a show or an audiobook.
Yeah.
And I can't do that with seaming. And because
really?
it requires, and I don't like doing it late at night when he goes to bed. So it's like my window of opportunity is so small.
Yeah.
And so if I tell you I have a sweater that I finished 4 winters ago.
That you haven't seen yet.
And
is this like the snail? Is this sitting next to the snail?
the worst. It's the worst. I have like 5 makes that are finished that need to be seamed.
Oh my word. That's
I
so
need
funny.
I need that professional seamer.
Well, like Exhibit A, I actually am working on a customer order for a pumpkin, and my pumpkin pattern is I always do it out in a rectangle, and then I seam it because I mean I could do it in the round, I just don't want to.
See, you made it in the round, right?
I have other stuff that I've done that way, but I prefer to just do it, and I can whip them out so fast and so easy and so quick. So
yeah. I mean, it is that is a kind of a small thing. I mean, really, I have no excuse. I should do it, but I just move on. Squirrel. Yeah. I move on to the next thing.
Ooh, good project.
New yarn.
All right, so let's talk about the book.
Let's do it.
I just killed an ant on my desk. That's lovely. Okay, so if you want to hold it up again, since you actually have the copy. Yay, there it is. Just Another Missing Person by Gillian. Is it Gillian or Gillian McAllister?
I don't know.
You know? I don't know either. But we're going to go with one or both. I'm going to just use her last name.
McAllister. I'm thinking Gillian. I don't know.
Like,
she's British.
She's thinking like, she's what?
She's British.
Is she? Yeah. Well, I guess that makes sense.
What would it be?
I still don't know. I'm no closer with that information. Okay, so just a real quick synopsis for those that are actually interested in the book and not just us goofing off. So from the author of Reese's Book Club pick, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, DCI Julia Day is a by-the-book cop, but when a man wielding a secret that can ruin her family tells her that their safety depends on her ability to not find the girl in her missing persons case and to instead frame another person, Julia unravels a tangle of secrets and deceptions that are more personal than they first appear. It's told in 3 point of views, Julia, Lewis, and Emma. So obviously this is a mystery thriller. And what was your first reaction to it after finishing? Do you recall? We were talking earlier, everybody, how Aire and I read this so long ago. We've been like trying to remember what our first reactions are, because it's been a minute. But yeah, so if you can remember.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I quite liked it. I wasn't kept on my toes as much as I was with her, with the original book of hers that I read, Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Although that one too had a bit of a slow burn. I felt like it kind of slow burned up until about halfway, and then it kind of just started with the twists and turns. I liked this one, and I would recommend it, but it didn't keep me on my toes as much. I feel like there were parts that she could have done away with.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of too much storytelling in some of the parts. What did you think?
Similar. Yeah. I thought it was very, it was definitely a slow burn. I would like, they called it a thriller. I'm not sure I would give it that name. It's definitely a mystery.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't get the same kind of pulse pounding compulsion to read it. And it honestly, even like, I think I would have struggled even more if I had been reading it instead of listening to it. And even listening to it, I was struggling to get into it. I think it took me like halfway through before I really finally started like, okay, now I want to listen to this like all the time kind of a thing. Whereas otherwise it was just like, well, I'm folding another load of laundry. Let's go ahead and put it in.
Let's put it. And you and I talked about this, right? We talked about the fact that the audiobook was actually well done. And
Yes,
there have been other audiobooks that we've both walked away from because they've been terrible.
for sure.
Right?
It was not by virtue of the narration. I think the actors that were doing the voiceovers for the three points of view, and there were three different actors, I think they did a fantastic job. It was the story itself was just not holding me, or not. I wasn't getting into it as quickly as I would have expected to for this type of book. But that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, since you have read Wrong Place, Wrong Time. So how does this really compare, like not just the pacing, but like the story building? Like, is it as intricate, or like is like, I don't know, like just the story itself, the plotting and the characters? Does she do a similar or better job in the other one, or better job in this one, or what is your opinion there?
So again, that one too was quite some time back now.
Yeah.
I remember I really liked it, but like I said, it was a kind of a slow burn up until the halfway point. And I did that one exclusively on audio, whereas this one I did kind of a little bit reading and mostly the rest on audio. The audio of that one was also very well done. There were also quite a few characters to develop. I noticed she's done that in both books,
Yeah.
where there's a series of, a series of characters.
A lot of people to keep track of.
Yeah, a lot of, we found that was a little bit challenging, right?
Yeah. We had to make a list earlier. This is a little backstory for everybody. We were trying to remember exactly what happened in the plot, and so we were like, okay, who were all these people? What were their names? And so Eric's looking through the book, and I'm making the list. I'm like,
if this person's related to this guy.
We need a flow chart.
Next time we'll do a PowerPoint.
There we go.
Yeah, definitely a few characters to remember, and it gets a little bit confusing for reasons we won't disclose. I personally, I liked Wrong Place, Wrong Time a little bit more, and that might just be because it was my first, experience with her book, and it kind of, like I said, kept me on my toes.
Was that her debut novel?
I think it was.
Or has she written more than just these two?
Let's see. Let me check the inside cover.
I can
no, she's written a lot.
Has she? Maybe that was just okay.
That was just her recent book.
Interesting. Well, I mean, this is probably another reason why there's like, I don't just automatically buy an author's book anymore either, too. Like I feel like some are better than others, and I've got one I'm reading right now where Alex Michaelide. So he wrote The Silent Patient.
Yes.
Did you ever read that one?
I haven't, but he's on my list.
He wrote The Silent Patient, and then he wrote The Maidens. And his new one called The Fury comes out in January. And I managed to get an arc on that one. So I'm in the middle of that one right now. But I will say that and it's not over yet, but I've had a really hard time getting into that one. And I really enjoyed The Silent Patient, and then that was probably my favorite of the three so far. But
Really?
it's just like that, like, I mean, the struggle, I think the pressure that authors must feel in general.
To do well.
Yeah, I think especially after a success, you know what I mean? Like it's an immense pressure, and I think sometimes that can be self-defeating. But I still
Agreed.
liked this book, and like I didn't read Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Like I said earlier, I have not read it yet. It's on my pile upstairs to be read.
Right.
But I think maybe I'll have to let you know, after I read that one, kind of where things stand on this. But I still liked the book. I think that it was interesting once I did get into it, and seeing how all of the puzzle piece. I always think of it like as gears, like going like this, and how it all kind of comes together and
Yes.
fits and makes the whole thing work.
That's a good way of saying it.
Okay, so without getting into spoilers, what was your favorite element of the book?
What was my favorite element? Okay, I will say I didn't see the ending coming.
Yeah.
And that to me,
that was a surprise. I love it when they're able to surprise me.
Same.
So yeah, and we'll get more into that. Obviously, we'll have the spoilery talk in a little bit, but yeah, I liked how she really dove into the different like familial relationships in the book.
Right.
And not just the parental relationships, but like, I felt like we even got a good glimpse of Lewis with his current wife, Yolanda. So Lewis is the widower whose daughter disappeared. Her name was Sadie, disappeared. And yeah. So I thought it was interesting getting to see a little bit of them. I think that I would have been a little bit more interested to see more into that, but definitely like her diving into the relationships and like just the mentality of like parenting and like the lengths you go to for those that you love,
yeah,
and what you'll do to protect them. I thought that was really, yeah.
I agree.
So was there anything about this story that kind of resonated with you as a reader or as a parent?
I was just going to say, as you kind of touched on the lengths you'll go to for those you love, as I kind of read Julia's portion and what she had, the decisions that she had to make, I found myself stopping and saying, I would do the same times 100.
Right.
Like without a thought.
Yep.
What did you think?
I also found myself putting myself in place of these parents, and like not just Julia, but Lewis and Emma as well. Yes. Which actually, that's one of my questions a little bit later on once we can talk spoilers too. So we won't get too much into that. There's just not a whole lot we can talk about without getting into spoilers. So let's see. Oh, did you notice this? And apparently this is something that she does in a lot of her books. I've seen a couple of people online remark about how she tends to repeat herself in threes.
Tell me how.
Well,
the three characters.
No, like even across the different characters, it wasn't like a special character. Like it wasn't a trait of one character. It carried across all of her writing. And somebody made a comment on one of the Goodreads reviews that I was looking at, and they said something about like, I don't know, just like repeating certain phrases 3 times. Like, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. But like doing it all the time.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice it either, but it came up multiple times when I was looking at other people's reviews. I was like, huh. And then I saw where somebody's like, yeah, she did that in Wrong Place, Wrong Time too. So now when I read that one, I'm going to start.
Now you're gonna pull out the highlighter.
Right. I'm going to pull up my little Post-it notes and like here it was again and here.
You need to get back to me on that. Interesting.
I will. Yeah, I was just curious if you had noticed it or not. It was just one of those weird little things that I saw.
See, this is
others comment on.
This is where it would be so great. Whenever I tag her in the book, she always responds and says, "Wow." Or when I shared about our little chat tonight, she said, "Oh wow, thank you." So I would love love if we could get someone like her on a chat.
That would be cool. Although if she's in the UK, that would be tough.
Yeah, we'd have to do
I
it if,
thought, yeah, we'd have to do a different time.
yeah, but it would be
Yeah.
so cool to ask, well, why did you do, or why do you do
Yeah,
that?
like, right. Yeah. Yep.
That is
Totally.
cool. Now I want to read it again.
Yeah, it's like now you're gonna flip back through. Where can I find those?
Now I'm gonna look.
Let's see. Okay, so we know that Julia covers. Oh, never mind. We already kind of talked about that one, so never mind. I'm gonna skip that question. Okay. Was there anything that kind of felt off to you or sat wrong with you in the story?
So I'll let you tell the part that we discussed earlier with your
The husband.
because I kind of, okay, so you know how you just touched on, you liked a bit of the development of the dynamics in the families that she explores in her writing.
Yeah.
So I felt like the one area where she didn't do such a good job on that was in her own marriage, Julia's. So the main character, Julia's marriage with her husband.
Right.
I felt like it was just very vague. How did we end up here?
Right. Like I didn't understand how he like it just didn't. First and foremost, that whole affair aspect added nothing to the overall story. So like why? Like I mean I
feel like
get
she
that
needed to develop it more.
Yeah.
Right?
Or leave it out entirely. Like you can say that she could have easily I guess I just don't buy into the fact that a man who's been married to a police officer for 20 plus years is all of a sudden going to get upset at her working long hours that she has always worked even before they got married.
Shift
like,
work, being gone overnight.
Exactly.
This is not
so like why all of a sudden is that going to be a thing? Now, it could be because I could more theoretically see a distance created between her and her husband by virtue of Julia and Genevieve keeping that secret.
Absolutely.
But I don't understand why there had to be the affair. Like what
You're right.
did that add to the story? And it just felt really contrived.
Yes,
and
it did.
Unauthentic. Sorry, there's my
no
voice
problem
again.
Take a breather. You know what, that was the one part of the dynamic relationship building that I felt she did a poor job on. I felt like there could have been so much more. Like she's the main protagonist. We're talking about Julia Day for most of the book, and hers was the one story that was not that well developed. I feel like even her relationship with her daughter was only developed well because of what happened with the two of them. And the secret.
Even so, I don't know that I even buy that a whole lot, to be honest.
Really?
Because I kind of felt like Genevieve was a little bit of a brat the entire novel. Like
she was a little bit. She was
I mean, if my mom would have done something like that for me, I think I would have a considerably less attitude. like
okay,
I don't know.
I'm gonna lay low. She did have a bratty attitude. I feel like she did a good job building her up as a support for her mom. Like you could see, she waited up for her. Okay, mom, you're not home. It's midnight to bed. So I felt like she did offer a little bit of that supporting role.
Right.
But yes, she did have a bratty. She did.
Like her personality or the way that she would talk to her sometimes. I don't know. Especially in conjunction with almost felt like sometimes taking sides between her and Art.
Yes, her husband, Julia.
Which, again, like if the secret that Julia was keeping for Genevieve from Art was the sole focus of that distance in their marriage, would make that even more nuanced. You know what I'm saying? Like I just felt like that all just kind of there was a missed opportunity there, I think.
I agree.
So I don't know. All right. So I think we've officially exhausted everything we can talk about without talking spoilers. So at this point, if you have not finished the book and you don't want to know the ending, cover your ears
Spoilers.
Or tune out. So
sorry, guys.
All right. So there were a lot of reveals in this book. So let's talk about those. The first one being kind of the biggest twist to see coming. Like I didn't put it together until probably like the last third of the book, like until it was just she was really starting to drop those breadcrumbs and tell us that's what was going on. Was like Olivia was never really missing. She was a catfish missing person, you know, created by Lewis. And I thought that was a really interesting little plot device and plot twist. I'm curious to see how she would have come up with that. What did you think about all that? Did you see it coming or?
No. So, okay. So the first time she touched on the passport office job, which by the way made me laugh because I know people who work at the passport office. So I started thinking.
So do you have like a list of questions for those people now? Like,
can you tell me how this works here in the Canadian office? So that once she started talking about the employment inside a passport office, I started saying, oh my gosh, the passports. Right away, like it clicked that it had to do with, you know, stolen identities. These passports are used to bring people back from the dead, as it were, in some cases.
Right.
But I did not clue in until, like you said, the breadcrumbs had really been laying down for us that Olivia was technically, she was a real person.
She was.
But she was a fake catfish missing person.
Right. Which I gotta give Lewis some credit on that because that's pretty dang ingenious.
And should we talk about why he did it?
In a minute. I think we'll get to that on another question that I've got. Okay. And then there was the fact that Lewis was working with Zach's brother. Zach being the mugger who attempted to mug
Genevieve
at the, like, this obviously happened off page before the book starts, where she injured him using excessive force, and he later died from his injuries. So Zach's brother, I guess, I don't remember if he was down at trying to figure out what was going on. I don't remember why he was down at the police station, but I think Lewis had been down there trying to find out something about his daughter's missing persons case, and met up with Zach, and they were both disillusioned with Julia
Day,
and they decided to kind of like, well, you know what, let's take matters into our own hands. And I was kind of, that I saw coming, like whoever it was, I knew he had to be involved somehow, that Zach's brother had to be involved. I will say that, like, you know, for the majority of the book, Lewis it came across like he was Olivia's father, I think.
Yes. So
right?
Yeah, so she did a good job confusing us a little bit for most of the book.
Right. Yeah. And like it wasn't until later you realized, no, it wasn't Olivia, it was
Sadie.
Right. So, and then of course there was that Olivia was alive, and that was another reveal. Like obviously then it comes out that it was, then Sadie was alive.
The original missing daughter.
So that was, I feel like there were a lot of reveals. And then the last one I have is obviously the big one, the big crime boss. What did we call him earlier? Was that crime boss? Yeah. Work husband / crime boss in our list.
Julia Day's work husband.
Yep.
Her
Jonathan.
Co-detective Jonathan ended up being a dirty, rotten cop / crime
boss. Yeah.
Head honcho.
So, and I think, wasn't he like a tech guy too? Like he was combing the footage. So I think he was the one that doctored the footage, probably. Maybe?
No, I think
it was that
brother.
Zach's
I think it was the brother who doctored the CCTV.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I didn't see Jonathan coming. Did you?
Not at all. So I did at the very, like, right before it happened, I was like, don't say it's him.
Yeah.
And it was him.
Right. By the time
when it was about to happen. You know,
no, it's not going to be.
She kind of laid a little bit of, like when he was kind of digging into her and he started checking up on what Julia was doing. So Julia being the detective, she's supposed to investigate these cases, but she's kind of dropping the ball because now she has to protect her daughter's crime that she's covering up at all
And
costs.
her own.
And well, and her own now. And yeah, she had to commit a crime in order to save her daughter, as it were. And so now Jonathan starts digging into her, and you think, oh, she's going to be found out by her colleague and lose it all. And only to find out that not only was the colleague complicit, there was one other person that was complicit.
Yeah, the DA. So that, yeah, it was all, there were a lot of reveals that, I mean, I was very pleasantly surprised that I was surprised, because I feel like a lot of times with thrillers and stuff, I can figure them out so easily because they're just so, typically they're pretty formulaic. But
Yes.
yeah, she surprised me. So that, I think that like redeemed the whole slow start for me.
Agreed.
Like I was just so like, whoa, blown back by that. Okay, so we hit on this a little bit earlier, but I want to kind of, now that we can talk spoilers, go a little deeper with it. So obviously this book delves into what it means to love your children and how far you're willing to go with them. As a parent, how do you think you'd have acted in each of the parents' shoes? So in Julia's shoes, you mentioned earlier that you would have done exactly that and 100 more. So I think like absolutely, if I was Julia and I had the means and the ability to do that, like I would have covered her crime up as well and protected my daughter. But that being said, what about, obviously that was back in time, right? So now present time, how would you be responding to this new threat to the safety and to your own safety, and at the risk of this moral dilemma of framing an innocent person for somebody's death that you don't even know is dead? Would you continue on with the charade?
I struggled with that one because I feel like, so just taking one step back, as a mom, because she is at the base of it, she's a mom and a wife, with some kind of a wife, and she's a cop, she's a detective. When the guy, scares her in the car the first time, I'm like, okay, this woman is putting herself into dangerous situations. I mean, as a cop, she should have known there was somebody in the car. Right. And then it kind of happens again. So I thought, okay, now she's just stupidly putting herself into dangerous situations. As a mom, I would be much more cautious. And as a cop, who happens to be a mom. So that I didn't agree with.
Right.
But in terms of framing an innocent person, like the morality of that, yes, you would do anything for your child, but I would want to try to find some, I don't know. I mean, couldn't she have hired Price to do something about that?
Right. I mean, like, because in the past, when she protected her daughter by covering up, what happened, I mean, at that point, Zach was already dead, and I guess, like, in her mind, what is her daughter coming forward going to do? Like, what is that going to do for anything?
Right.
Well, I mean, obviously, people would say it would be justice for Zach, but
he's
Zach doesn't. And he's and this
not
is
like,
to say, this is a slippery slope, because now we're sitting here like, well, he's a criminal. Like,
not to say that his life isn't important, but okay. Can I just say I had a problem with that crime to start? Okay, we talked about this. It didn't happen in the pages of this book. It kind of happens before the book starts. There was this crime committed. Zach tried to mug Julia's daughter, Genevieve.
Right.
I just didn't like how that was handled. Like, the book would never have happened. I didn't like how that was handled. I feel like that crime wasn't big enough to cover. She's a cop. Like, she's not just a cop, she's a detective.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like she should have come forward right away with that and said, this horrible thing happened to my daughter? Like, I felt that was a very strange crime to cover up.
Well, yes. And I also think that I felt like they were kind of twisting it, again, to use the word contriving. It was very contrived, in the fact that there was a period of time between the attack. Was it a week or 2 weeks? before he died.
Yeah.
Like he died from his injuries, yes,
And
but had
possible
he
drug use.
and possible drug use, and like he probably, I don't even know that he went to a hospital, did he? I don't
think
remember.
he did at the end.
Maybe that was in there. But like I feel like, if you're not taking proper care of the wound and of the injury, that's a risk that you take. Now,
and you got it while mugging someone or
right,
trying to.
right.
Like I felt
So
it was very,
I don't know.
very contrived.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to get into the right or wrong of it, but I'm just saying that it felt very contrived for it to be as big of a deal to create this dilemma down the road that it did. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I feel like, like a real murder or something that would have made more sense to cover up, because how do you come back from
Right.
that? But like somebody attempted to mug this detective's daughter, and so let's address what happened.
Yeah.
And oh, he sustained injuries. Well, yes, of course, she fought back. I just felt it was very self-defense. Like they just didn't have the grounds to cover it up. That was my problem with the book.
Right. I also didn't find it realistic that she wouldn't tell her husband about it.
I mean, I guess I could understand if they weren't close, because they make
they
reference to
were before that. Like it was after that when he had the affair. It was
I thought it was.
that.
Wasn't it for a while? Oh, it happened right then?
It happened after her attack, because I think that's kind of what she was trying to get at with, again, using this secret, kind of creating distance.
Right.
And he stepped out. Like, I don't know if she decided to, like, I don't know. But it definitely happened after Genevieve's attack. So if she had told him and been upfront, like, that's one other person that could help her with that, because he would be in the exact same kind of
position.
He's the one other person that would totally understand what she's facing.
Yeah, I mean, he's the father, right? He would want to do the same to protect his daughter.
Exactly.
Maybe more.
And he would be a great sounding board for when fast forward and now all of this is going down.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So it was a little bit contrived for sure. I don't know that was a good enough crime to try, like you're saying, to try and cover up. But if anything, I think Julia would have been in more trouble for the fact that she did cover it up instead of just going straight to, like, I think that's the bigger crime, really, in the whole.
The trustworthiness.
Yeah. So I don't know. Right. So what about Lewis? Now, Lewis has, like, his daughter is missing
for a year.
He's a widower. For a year. He's been widowed, and then remarried, and he's got his only daughter is missing, and has no idea what's happened to her, and he's become obsessive about it, and he's kind of taken to stalking DCI Day, and now starting this whole scheme of working with Zach's brother to then frame the person that he thinks took his daughter by catfishing a missing person for DCI Day. I don't know that I would have gone that far.
It is kind of genius, though, isn't it?
It really kind of is. I wouldn't have given it to him. I felt like he kind of seemed a little unassuming and kind of.
He did.
Yeah. It was.
I didn't expect that. And to think that it was his whole scheme. I mean, talk about what a wicked web we weave. I mean, this guy built a whole new life.
He went deep for like the whole social media account, and like the rented apartment, and like so much is going in and showering so the roommates could hear.
Moved her in the middle of the night.
Yeah. I mean, that's some dedication to your scheme there.
I think they should have built the book around him.
That would have been interesting.
His ingenious methods of finding out about his daughter's killer or abductor.
Yeah. Would you have gone to that kind of extreme?
I want him to train me.
Teach me your ways.
Teach me your ways. He is just, my God, you know, all these Instagram coaches, he should be one. Right? Like, it's so preposterous. How do you come up with this whole, he made up an imaginary person. So there's this whole subcategory of thieves committing crimes by basically stealing passports, right?
Right.
And then here he is, who also happens to work in the passport office, using it, let's call it for good.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Taking an identity of a non-dead passport holder
Mm-hmm.
and creating a whole person out of it, like literally out of thin air. He created this person in order to get somewhere on his daughter's case, his missing daughter's case. I mean,
right.
It's genius.
It is pretty smart. Okay, so what about Emma? I felt like we didn't get as much of her point of view.
We didn't get to know her
as
enough
compared to the others, but I did still feel her struggle. Like, she's the one who she's a single mom and she's doing her best to protect her son, who has been accused of Lewis's daughter. And then, so Lewis, his daughter that actually is missing is Sadie. And then there's the current missing persons case of Olivia, who is the catfish missing person.
Right.
And so he has been accused of Sadie's murder, moves and changes his name so that he can start over. And then Lewis comes in and catfishes him with Olivia's photo on her social media and starts to try and frame him for her disappearance.
Missing.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, Emma is struggling because she wants to believe her son, but at the same time suspects him. Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Still going to protect him, but not going to trust you in the locker room. Like.
Exactly. She, you know, I was going to say right when you asked about what about Emma, I felt so sorry for her.
Yeah.
She kind of broke my heart a little bit because you empathize with her being the single mom who's put her life on the line again for her only kid. Packed up and moved with him. They've changed their identities, and here he is accused of a similar or the same crime of this catfished missing person. And yeah, you wonder, I mean, how many times, right? Like, how far do you go?
And I think my heart broke for her on the level of thinking that you're thinking the worst about your child and making the decision to protect them or turn them in, and then having that, like, because at the end of the day, she ended up telling VCI Day what she knew, and in the sense betraying her son, which means then that relationship, even though he wasn't guilty, is now forever tainted by that. And that just broke my heart all over again for her. Like, it was just terrible. She was just really in a not good position the entire thing.
I mean, her morals, I think, were better than any of the other characters. I mean, better than DCI Day, better than Lewis, better than anyone. I mean, Lewis was doing whatever he could for his daughter. But yeah, Emma's story, I wish we had gotten to know her a bit more. But yeah, you're right. I mean, she basically destroyed her relationship with her son for no reason, really, in the end.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Okay, do you have any other thoughts you want to share about the book? I think that's all I have otherwise.
I think, you know, I might have started off with making the book sound like I didn't like it. I enjoyed it. Yeah. But like we already said, it was a slow burn. I'm glad I read it. I like the style. I like the character development. I think she does a good job with her books. And I do like the twists in both books of hers that I've read. So
the other one was equally twisty.
Had a twist. So I would definitely read the books, you know, another book like this of hers again.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. Like you, I think that, yes, it was hard to get into, but those reveals at the made it all worth it. So I think that it was really interesting seeing it all come together, and I really enjoyed it. I'll definitely be checking out Wrong Place, Wrong Time. So and I'll have to let
You
you
need to
know
let me
after I
know.
finish. I will, and I'll have to be looking up for those
Yes,
the three.
you need to send me a screenshot.
I will.
What? How did I miss
Every
it?
time I get one, I'll just text you a picture. Here's one.
Here's
Here's another one.
another one. Here's another one. That's funny. I love that.
Awesome. Well, Aire, thank you so much for being with me tonight and talking about Just Another Missing Person. I'm so glad you could join.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun, and you are organized, and you made it so easy. Thank you.
I love that you say that because I already told you this is like my least organized.
It was amazingly organized.
Okay, I'll take your compliment for what it is.
Thanks.
I appreciate it though. I'm so glad that you could join us, and I'll have to have you back on. We'll have to pick another thriller and get to it.
I would love that. I would love that.
All right, lady.
Thank
Well,
you.
make sure you guys go check out Aire's feed and go and enter into her mud giveaway because I know that I'm going to be hitting that up next too. So
amazing. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks
Bye.
for joining us. Bye, guys.